In this week's video, we're going to tackle what was the rustiest part of this rusty old tub, and that's the bathing platform.
I forgot my microphone. Well, I haven't forgot it, I've lost it. Can't find it. First of all, does it look a bit clearer? Because that is still the old lens that I took off previously and replaced, but it's better than the latest lens. I've ordered another one. It's due to turn up today. I hung around for it a little bit, but you know what Amazon's like. They don't turn up till the afternoon. Anyway, big thank you, Jonathan Gould, who got me these. And the pinny. Thank you, Jonathan. Awesome, mate. So hopefully it'll protect my jacket. So I bought myself a new jacket to try and protect this, because these jackets are phenomenal, really warm, but they don't last 2 minutes when the grinding sparks hit them. Okay, what we need to do then is get grinding out this dodgy weld here, see if we can make it better. You can see how I've left it for a couple of days, how the penetrance just spread further and further. So I probably sprayed too much on. Maybe it needs a little bit less, but let's just grind out some of these dodgy areas of the weld and see if we can improve it. What I've been trying to do there is just create a little mouse hole so that when we do the weld at the back here on the stern, we can get through with the weld. So that's cut off, ready to weld in. Hopefully it leaves a little hole and it allows us to put the weld in, but also I was thinking allows water to run between. The lesson of the day on that is to plan ahead, because it would have been easier to put that mouse hole in first before we welded the steel in. But you live and learn. Every day is a learning day. So I've ground out the welds where there's defects. What I did notice was, from what was actually mentioned in the comments, a couple of you said that it's where the welds overlap. And a few of you gave me some techniques on to prevent that from happening. And I think you're absolutely right, because these defects seem to be where the welds have started and stopped. And I think part of that was actually weld preparation, because I was concentrating so much on trying to do a good weld, because part of that weld there really was about me practicing. And I was concentrating so hard to do a good weld, I wasn't really prepping for the next weld as well as I should do. And I think the lesson to learn there is preparation is key. So when you finish a weld and you restart, probably need to grind in, clean that weld up, and make sure I've got a big margin to start a new weld so the weld gets nice and hot and fuses properly. Anyway, again, live and learn.
Back to the same old, same old. What happened to that beautiful weather we were having? Back to rain. Rainy old West Wales. We had sunny West Wales not long ago. Yeah, let me show you the marina. Looks good in the wet. Going home. Hey. So I can't find my microphones anywhere. I've got one that I usually use in here. This is my posh one from my new camera. And, oops, can't get in the gate. It's nice and clean. And I didn't want to use it in here because it's going to end up filthy. But sadly, I don't think I have any choice. Otherwise you get echoey, horrible sound. Right. Let's get in. Another day. Let's do some work. So I've been neglecting you all again. I spent most of the day yesterday doing work without showing you. Two things I've got to do though before we do some work today. First of all is I've got to put the lens cover on my brand new beautiful lens. Look at the quality. Don't I look pretty? So that's the first thing I'm going to do any minute now. Secondly, I'm going to show you what I was up to yesterday. I only had a few hours down here, but I'll just show you the work that I did without telling you. Dust absorber. I guess we're covered in bits. Right, don't go away. Whoa, it's windy in here today. Right, what do you reckon to that? Looks beautiful. Okay, so we've got a lens cover on, brand new lens, and hopefully no glitches. Let's go. So here's what I neglected to show you. So yesterday I ground out the weld partially, but I left in a fillet. The reason I did that was I thought the weld was really ugly, but that's not important. You know, how pretty the weld looked doesn't matter. But what I was intrigued with was where those defects were in the weld and basically where it overlapped the weld. And probably because I didn't do very good weld prep between each part that I overlapped. And the reason I didn't do that is I was quite focused on just practicing the welding. And as I said, this part of the weld was non-critical, so I was using it to practice. It turns out though, afterwards, I realised that I might be wrong about the weld being critical. And the reason behind that is I was thinking about seawater getting in. And we've got to make sure that the welds are fine to prevent the seawater from getting into the boat. Otherwise, you've got a sinking boat. And my thoughts were, well, the keel, the U-section keel that we've got, must be watertight. But if it's not, if it is leaking in, well, then it's belts and braces to have me welding the inside up. But I was thinking about that upside down because it also needs to be welded up properly here above to prevent any bilge water from getting into that U-section keel. Otherwise, we've got a section of keel that was perfectly dry when we unwrapped it, but now would have water in, and then we've got another hidden part of the boat that ends up corroding, and the first time we noticed that this corrosion is when it fails. So I suddenly thought, oh my gosh, this is actually a weld that I really would like to get done properly. So I started to grind it out just to have a look at the defects and see what they were like, but also because I was intrigued to learn a little bit more about the weld as well. And I learned quite a lot by grinding it out. And it was amazing that underneath that shoddy weld, how much of it was really good, but how much of it, no matter how small, was really shoddy. And it was only small amounts, but those small amounts are the future failure points. So I've ground it out, and I've also been applying attention to where the welds were failed, where they didn't look very good, and re-welding sections of it. You can also see here that parts of it were quite porous, small parts, and these were the cold areas where we were starting the fresh weld. And this got me curious as well, and this is one of the things I wanted to ask you people about. A few people have commented, and Simon says this to me all the time, that when I first start the weld, it sounds awful, like a machine gun. And then it actually improves as the weld goes along. Now, I know that the feature that we're using on this MIG welder, it's got sort of the SMIG version, the synergic MIG, where the welder will actually alter the voltage as you go along to stabilize the arc. And I always thought it was just taking a second or two to stabilize the arc. But it's where the welds were always started, where I have the worst porosity. It sounds awful, and it also looks very, very porous. I've tried purging the gas first because I thought it was probably the gas, so I always have a squeeze, get the gas going through, and that doesn't seem to have helped. So I wonder if anybody else knows anything like that, particularly if you're an expert on ESAB welders. Should it be doing that? And I'm tempted right now to switch to manual settings to get rid of the synergic and see how we go along. A few of you have also commented that you think that the welds are cold, and I don't believe they are, but I do listen. The reason I don't believe they are is because on the settings on the welder, you dial in the steel thickness. It's synergic, so it will actually alter the voltage as you go along, stabilize the arc. And I've set the trim on the hot side of the weld. So for the steel that I'm doing, it's actually on the hot side according to the settings. But not only that, I get significant undercuts too. And to add insult to injury, I've sent some photos off of the welds close up, and the feedback that I've been getting from people in the know is that the weld's too hot. So it might be difficult to see on the video, I don't know. So then I think, what is it that you've been looking at? And it might be the fact that the welds are mounded up. And I actually believe that that is because I'm traveling too slow. And the reason I travel slow is because I keep going off-piste with the weld. So I go very, very slowly. And the reason I weave the weld, which I'm told not to do as well, is it helps me light up and show where that join is so I can try and stay on track. I had a practice yesterday of just welding quicker, moving faster, and the weld sounded much better. And it looked a lot better as well. But I didn't show you that. But I'm wondering whether I'm just not traveling fast enough. But if I travel fast, I tend to go off track more. I kind of need my head focused on where I'm going. But anyway, that's the welding. Long chat. So today I'm just going to finish grinding this weld up, getting some paint on it, and then we'll move on to a new job.
I just want to hold you. I just want to look into your eyes and tell you that I want you. You know you make me feel so alive. Can't stop thinking about you day and night. Love it when you kiss me, love it when we touch. Every time I'm down, yeah, you make me smile. You're the solution. You are, you are, you are, you are, you are, you are, you are. You are the solution. You are the solution. You are, you are, you are, you are, you are, you are, you are. You are the solution. You are the solution. You are the solution.
So I think today is a day of running out of things. I've just run out of the weld through primer. Not completely. There is some more somewhere. I think it's in the shed, so I've got to find it. But my can that I keep here is gone. I've run out of welding gas as well. I wanted to do a bit of welding just to finish off down here, but I can't because the gas is empty. Maybe that's part of the problem that we've been having. Maybe the pressure's been getting low on the gas. So the reason I'm using weld through primer on here and not the Jotun 90 is because I need to floor test it again before we put the Jotun 90 on it. And I'm not going to do that right now because I'm going to floor test lots of bits all at the same time when we've got the other welds in. So for now, I'll just put some weld through primer on. So what next, I can hear you asking? Well, I've got a few jobs coming up soon. Lots is going to be going on all at the same time. I'm prepping now for getting the bathing platform in. So the steel for the bathing platform will be coming soon. To do that, I need to get a slot cut in the side of Heath House here, so we can get the steel in, 4 metre by 2 metre steel. The second thing is I've got to prep the steel ready. I'll do it now before the steel's in here, because otherwise it'll just get in the way. I also need to finish prepping the hull, because we're going to be doing the seam welding soon, and I want to have worked back, clean the hull up, make sure I'm happy with the hull a bit further back, get some paint on it. And the final job that's got to be done is we need to sort out the rudders, but get the rudder assembly on this as well. So all these jobs are going to be coming up in the very near future. What shall I start with first? Right, let's just prep ready for this steel coming, because I don't think it's going to be very, very long.
So right now, I'm not my happiest. Since I started making these videos, I've had 5 microphones. 5. And one's completely kaput. That ended up in the rain puddle. And then it actually ended up in the washing machine. But it was okay, because it was already kaput before it went in the washing machine. That left me 4. And since last week, I've lost 2 of them. Don't know where they are. I came down here yesterday, had to make do without a microphone. So that left me two. I've got one that's Rachel's that's white, that's not allowed to go anywhere near anything dirty. And then the other posh one that goes with the other camera. Brand new, hardly been used. I think I used it when I went to Bulgaria with Simon. And I've lost it. I've no idea where it's gone. So I've had a search round. I want to go now because I've got to go and fetch some more gas. I don't know what time it shuts. And I can't till I found my microphone. So 3 microphones I've lost in a week. Anyway, hopefully the next clip is me with the microphone. Fingers crossed.
Almost next video. I can't believe it. What's wrong with my memory? It must be old age. I put it there on charge. So anyway, I've got this. Let me go and show you then, because I'm late now to go and try and get this gas bottle back. What I've been doing is prepping ready for the bathing platform coming. That's coming fairly soon. I've cut out here because the bathing platform I'm going to have coming all the way across here under here to add some additional support for the boat. What I was going to show you was this, how I've been cleaning the edge, but how it's pitted. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort that out with the laser cleaner. But that'll be for tomorrow now. Look what else we've got as well. Do you remember that? That's the patch repair I did from above. Look, we got good penetration there, didn't we, on the weld? I've been grinding the edge. I've been cleaning with the fibre disc. That's really good at getting the paint and the rust off. But I have to get rid of the lips first, the edges, because they just tear at the fibre disc and soon ruin it. Now I've got these pits left. I'm going to have to get those with the laser cleaner tomorrow, as I've said. I've got a little bit more to do on this side. Nearly finished, but a bit more to do. And then I'm thinking about putting this patch in now, although I'm not 100% sure whether I should leave that till after I put the bathing platform in. I'll have a think. Right now, I'm going to go and change the gas bottle. You're coming with me.
I think I'll take my pinny off. I don't know whether I've been breathing in too much lead paint dust or what, but I forgot the microphone. I've left it back at the boat, and I usually have to bring it home with me so I can charge it. Anyway, I was on my way to the welding place, but I'm not going to make it there on time. I'm not sure what time they shut, so I can't even remember what they called to Google it, and it's 5:15 now, and I've got a funny feeling they shut at 5:30. So stay with me. Next clip should be us. Right corner. Next clip should be us on his way in the morning to get some welding supplies. Where's me hat? Feel naked. Right, it's a brand new day. We're on our way to get some welding gas and then back down to the boat.
I just wanna look into your eyes. You know you make me feel like I'm alive. You are the solution. You are the solution. You are the solution. You are the solution.
Okay, so that's new gas done. It's a new day. Scabby looking lens cover already. And I spent quite a while off camera again, just getting tidied up and cleaned up a bit.
I've ordered the steel, as you know. That's not going to arrive today, though. It'll arrive for the next video, but I've got to get everything ready, including cutting a hole in the side here. So time's getting on. I've done loads, but not got much to show. Sorry again. But let's just get on with finishing this side, tidying everything up, ready for this new steel coming.
Camera abuse.
There we go. That's another new lens cover. It's about one a day at the moment. Let me show you this. So this is the U channel that's used as a rubbing strake. You can see if you look at the bottom how it's corroded through. This one's not quite as bad as on the other side, but still significant corrosion. Got thin there. Now it's getting thin there too. So that's the issue we have when we have a sealed area, an area you can't get to. If it's completely sealed, it's fantastic. If you can prevent air from getting into it, primarily air and water, then you won't get any corrosion. But as soon as you allow air to get in there or any kind of moisture, and boom, you've got an area that just rots from the inside out. And we saw that with the keel section. The keel section must have been welded to a higher standard, and you'd think it probably has to be because it's below the waterline, and that was completely sealed off. There was no corrosion inside there. It was completely clean, and that's how it should be. These rubbing strakes on the side, they're completely corroded, and I wonder if the apprentice welder did all the above the waterline stuff, and the coded welder did the below waterline stuff. Who knows? Anyway, that's completely shot. Let's get on with cutting the slot at the side so we can get the bathing platform slotted in both ways. Now there's hot debate over which way you put a cutting disc onto a grinder. And I find it frustrating because you never get a straight answer. And that leads me to think that it doesn't really make any difference. But let me tell you the theories. Now there's two schools of thought when it comes to putting a cutting disc on a grinder. We'll call that label up and label down. And I have a lot of people telling me that that's the correct way to put a cutting disc in because it shows the brand and that's what the manufacturer would want. And it kind of makes sense, except when you have a grinding disc, the label's the opposite way. And you might say, ah, yes, well, that's because that is the cutting surface of the grinding disc. And if you put the label on there, you put the label over the abrasive part of the wheel. And that makes sense. I get that too. So I kind of try to have a look at the physics of this. And it's difficult because there's contradicting advice out there. And I've not seen much in the literature, although I've not searched hard. Now, one of the arguments for having the label up so that you can see the brand on a cutting disc is to do with this disc here. You see, we have this reinforcement disc only on one side. And it's been suggested that you have that on this side where you screw it in so that the clamping forces are equal. But that makes absolutely no sense at all because the clamping force is the same front and back. So if you put it that way and you clamped it, you would get the same clamping force. So that argument, which I see all the time on the internet, makes absolutely no sense to me at all, clamping force. Now, the other argument, the one that I kind of favoured, was to do with torsion. And that is that the reinforcement part of the disc goes on the side that develops the torque, which is the grinder side, because that's where the momentum comes from. And that's where the reinforcement's needed. And then if you are driving from this side, then you will get torsional forces on here that are not equal to the other side. So as far as the physics goes, you know, I was looking for something that's got some physics that has asymmetry. Clamping forces are symmetrical. Torsional forces are asymmetrical. And it makes sense to me that the reinforcement disc goes on the side that has the highest torsional forces. So I want to know what you think. Do we put the label down towards the grinder when it's a cutting disc, or do we put it up? Let me know your thoughts, and they can be non-evidence-based thoughts. I'm quite happy. I want to see what people think. But also, if you've got any literature on this and any proper guidance and advice, I'd love to see that too. All right, and particularly if you have any engineering papers, I'd like to see those as well. I like to read those kind of papers. So anyway, for now, I'm going to put the label down until you prove me wrong, which might not be very long. I think I've done about as much prep work for this bathing platform as I can stomach this week. It's been fairly arduous. I've spent the whole week grinding and cutting bits out. There was lots of kind of lips from the previous weld and things that have taken forever to try and grind out. I've got through dozens of flap discs. In actual fact, I've exhausted them all. I've used them all. And Aid brought me some recently. Thank you, Aid, for the care package. He brought me a load of flat wheels down, and I've used all those. I've ordered some more. They should be coming tomorrow. But I think I'm about done. We've about sorted this out. We're ready for this steel to come. Hopefully, straight after the weekend for next week's episode. Okay, so the idea behind the bathing platform is it's going to go in here and it'll go underneath, comes out to about here, and you can see that, and goes back to the edge here, walking backwards to about here, and again underneath. Sometimes I like just to come up here just to remind myself that what this is a boat, because sometimes it feels more like just a steel coffin down there with all the grinding and things. There is a boat in the midst of all this, and here she is. Anyway, less of a boat, more of a storage area. Here, have a look at this. Some rudder assembly stuff here. Look at that. That's going to be going on soon. That's the feedback mechanism. It tells you the rudder position sensor. I don't know what you'd call it, but that'll be going back in soon. And something else that's going to be going in there is some brand new spanking rudder stock brackets that have been made by Aid from Aid's workshop. They're brackets that go onto the rudder tubes, just hold them a little bit more secure onto the to the hull of the boat. So you'll see those in next week's video. In the meanwhile, thanks, Aid. I look forward to fitting those. Yeah, can't wait for the summer so that we spend a little bit more time here on the boat. It's a bit windy again today. You can feel the breeze. I was really jealous when I saw Simon from Ship Happens' new ultrasound thickness tester that he got from Amazon. Mine, it only gives you one measurement, but Simon's, it gives you loads to choose from. See you when the new steel arrives.